Hi guys, welcome back to the Fur Coat No Knickers podcast. Today we had my very good friend Chloe Markham on. Chloe speaks about obviously her fashion career, but she also delves into what it was like to have Bertie, her partner, go through cancer, and I suppose where she is now. So thank you, Chloe. This podcast is sponsored by 101 Limerick, so if you guys want to follow them on Instagram, it's 101 Limerick. So thank you. Hi Chloe.
Hello.
Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
No, thanks a million for coming on. So I wanted to interview you for a few reasons.
Okay.
One of them being that we became friends on Instagram.
Yeah, we did.
How cute, like.
I know, that was so random, like such a random thing, but look where we are now.
Yeah, I know. And I suppose, look, there's loads of different things that we've discussed on our little trips up to Dublin in the car, and like on like such a personal level, there was different things that we delved into that I suppose, okay, we knew each other from Instagram, so we knew each other from this exterior sense, but then once we kind of got into the car, it was like, so tell me all your secrets.
Yeah.
And like
the chats were
we divulged into parts of our lives that I think it really kind of brought us closer together as friends.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's a few things I want to ask you.
Okay.
But I think the most important one, and I think what everyone is going to want to know, is about how you got into fashion. And I just want to put a little twist on that. Okay. And I think the backstory around the job that you were uncomfortable in at a certain time and what pushed you to kind of get into fashion and stuff like that. So I think it would be important to include that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So you mean the job I was telling you about before, my recent job in London?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I definitely didn't always work in fashion, absolutely not. I would have studied business, recreation and leisure in CIT in Cork, and then did like a separate honours business degree. It was a follow-on from that. Don't regret it. Had a ball of 4 years in college. Met the most amazing friends that are still my friends today. But fashion was definitely always a passion from such a young age. Like now, when I look back, I was like, God, I was always obsessed. Yeah. And this is a very Catholic thing to say, but I can literally remember saying to my mother, if she was like showering, being like, what will I wear to mass? Will I wear this jumper with this and my hair to a side bun and all? Like I can literally remember that. So it was always in me. And I think from where I was from, which is Rathkeil, a small town in West Limerick, and it's nothing personal to anyone, teachers or anything, but I don't really think I was encouraged into a fashion career because, you know, it wasn't heard of.
It was a bit of a closed-minded
and they didn't.
environment.
I don't think all the different avenues in fashion you can work. They're just like, sure, you can't be a fashion designer, but I was like, I don't want to be a designer, you know, I just want to work in fashion. So yeah, did, you know, business, recreation and leisure in college, loved it, worked as a personal trainer and a swimming teacher, qualified masseuse. Very random.
Nobody knows that about you.
No, I'm very random, I will admit that. But again, loved it. Like never hated what I was doing, but always felt, I suppose, a bit of a void. Or, you know, then I started getting older and I was like, oh my God, am I never going to explore my real true passion? So then I ended up moving to Australia, and I was like, kind of saw it as a chance to reinvent myself. I was like, look, I'm going to try work in fashion. If I make a show of myself, no one knows me. It's fine. So started from the bottom, you know, like working in retail, worked my way up, manager, ended up being an area manager, kind of moved more into a creative role, being visual merchandiser, which is basically the pretty clothes you see on the mannequins and how the store is laid out was my job. Then I did, you know, some TV styling there. Visa reasons had to leave the country basically, and me and Bertie decided to go to London. I have always been obsessed with London from a young age. I never thought I'd actually get the chance to live there, so moved there, ended up getting a job as a DBM manager in a deputy brand manager for the Topshop in Oxford Circus, which is a massive Topshop, and
it's like their flagship store.
They're big. It's like 92,000 square foot. It's ridiculously big. And again, I just did not enjoy it there at all. It was just an environment that I didn't like, and it wasn't creative. It was more operational, you know. So retail, some people are just cut out for retail. it's not that I hated retail as such, just didn't find it creative. So didn't enjoy there. And then I suppose you spend so much time at work, it was making me not enjoy London, which was, I was almost heartbroken because I was like,
Really?
I dreamed this city up to be so much. Then I started reapplying. Long story short, was just like applying for so many jobs every day on my phone. Ended up getting a job at YouTube then, not to go into all the details. And I was working in the YouTube offices, which are the same as the Google offices in London, and I was there for almost 3 years, and it was not real life. It was
Really?
amazing, you know, working with celebrities and media every day, attending like amazing parties and all free food and drink. So, and people are saying, why did you leave that life to come home? But
I think that's probably the biggest question. I've probably asked you this 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
But like, I suppose I don't understand
why I came home.
I don't understand why I came home.
Yeah.
But you've obviously come home and you had your vision. Can you tell me about your vision and what you wanted to do when you came back to the farm?
Yeah.
As a farmer's wife?
I know the contrast is funny, like living in central London, working at the YouTube and Google offices and celebrities and all that. But you know what? I'm not like, oh my God, I'm going home. I'm just really grateful that I got to experience that life and live that. But I'm equally as happy, and I think it's all about your outlook and your mind frame. And not even to sound cheesy, I really, really do believe that, because I was in London. I was working in Topshop, Oxford Circus, but I wasn't happy at the time. So I could have been anywhere. Do you know what I mean? I just wasn't happy. And you know, I got married in March. The plan was I did marry a farmer. The future was at home eventually, and we weren't like had to go home right there, but you know, you to grow up as well. We're like, right, what we're doing now, we're still going to be doing the exact same thing in 3 years. Yeah. So why not go home and put down roots? Yeah. And I'd lived away from home for the bones.
Goosebumps when you just said that. Yeah. Put down roots. That's
I know.
So nice.
That just shows that you're getting older, you know.
Yeah.
So I'd always want to work for myself. There's definitely a couple of entrepreneurs in my family, so I was always playing around with what'll I do, and I was like, could I be a fashion stylist? And then you doubt yourself. You're like, people will laugh at me, and then I was like, sure, if they do, they're gonna laugh about you, maybe for something else anyway. So I decided to start my own business. Again, I'd never spoken Instagram stories. I hadn't even spoken to my 10 followers on Snapchat, to my best friends. Yeah, just wasn't me as a person. But I suppose I don't have a physical product. I am my business, so I knew I had to kind of put myself out there. And YouTube taught me that, actually, working there, because I saw these massive YouTubers and I was like, what do they do? Not in an insulting way, but I saw how people invested in them. Of course. And it's not that I want people to invest in me, but I need people to know me, because I am the business. Of course. So yeah, I came home and started my own thing. Initially I thought I'd do it part-time, but to be honest, I owe mainly to Bertie. Like, he was the one to really, really push me. He was like, no, there won't be as much opportunities at home. He was like, you need to be available around the clock. You need to do it full time. I was like, God, but how, like, will I? He was like, Chloe, do you honestly think I'm going to tell you to do this if I think you're just shopping there in your head having this like fairy tale of a business? He was like, you're a Markham. He was like, you'll make this a business.
I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just so determined to make it work, because the alternative was getting a job that I wasn't passionate about. Yeah. And that is a push.
And so, look, I suppose I want to know, you came home, right? You had, I remember following your stories, and I remember you were getting your website done, and you were, I suppose, slowly but surely coming on stories and saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm offering. And like, how then you say you have admin days, like what does that look like for you? Is that you reaching out to people saying, I'm a stylist, my name is Chloe, this is what I do, hit me up?
So initially my admin days are, I get up, I'll usually start my day with the gym. Like, the minute I get up, gym, come home, shower. My admin days, I do like it, because I'm like, oh yes, you know, cozy clothes, cozy jumper, I'm the cozy queen. And just admin. But at the beginning, it was me reaching out to people, which is something I wish I could have more time to do again. But I look, it's a good complaint at the moment. It's just me trying now to get back to people. Okay. So it's now kind of flipped, I guess, from people contacting me as opposed to me contacting people, which is...
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is just incredible.
It's great, because like now I'm like, oh God, I have to get back to this person, and I never try and leave it too long, because if I leave it too long, there's 5 or 6, 10 more people to get back to. So it's a great complaint, but because I'm a one-man band, sometimes a bit pressure, because you're trying to do admin. And
do you think the groundwork of you doing that initial admin, this is my brand, this is what I'm doing, do you think that's what set you up on top of the work that you may have done on top of it, and I suppose the impact that you gave? Is that what kind of gave you that standing ground to launch your brand?
Like, as in
determination?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Emails and like, how did you know who to contact? Were you just like, I just need to research this person, that person, do my list, do my database, and then get them sent out? Like,
I suppose because, you know, there's a lot of bloggers and lifestyle bloggers, and they're all amazing. That's why, don't get me wrong, I always say what I do and what bloggers do, of course it crosses over, but I do consider myself more of a businesswoman than a blogger, just a creative businesswoman in a creative career, I guess. But bloggers like write blogs and create amazing content, and I almost feel bad for being branded as that. I'm like, oh guys, no, I don't have a blog. I have a website with services. It's a business. But I guess with lifestyle bloggers, what they do can vary massively, whereas I suppose I had more of a focus that I wanted to be a stylist and creative director, so I kind of knew the businesses and brands that I wanted to contact, and I knew what I had to offer, because I can't offer them that I'll create great contact for the business. I won't.
And then there's one thing that I suppose we have our little girls group. We have like a little group of girl bosses, and Chloe is always the one that comes in and is like, value yourself more.
Yeah.
And like, and we all bounce off each other. It's actually a fantastic little support group that we have. It's a support group. It basically is.
I love it.
But you're always about like valuing yourself, valuing what you do, and positioning yourself right in people's mind. And I suppose for me, even like, just to give you a little compliment, but you gave me that bit of drive in order to go ahead with this project, with Adam, with you. And I met you around the time that I had met Adam and had said, this is what I want to do. And before I even said it to you, you were like, you need to have some sort of a talk show.
I just
and
knew
you
it.
Did you said it to me?
I did,
was like,
yeah.
Well, actually, I'm actually whatever.
Yeah.
And like, because I was afraid to even say to anyone what I was thinking about doing, and you pushed me on. Like, you helped me get that kind of, no, I am worth this, and this is going to work and stuff. So thank you.
You're welcome. No, I always knew that you were just like really bubbly and chatty, and that like I was like, this girl needs to have a talk show or just something, you know, just like came to mind. And I suppose that's where, you know, even when I do like styling sessions with women, or like photo shoots, or you know, I was working with the Crescent Shopping Centre here in Limerick last week, and I styled like 27 women, and so many women said to me, oh my God, you have a gift, you're great, blah blah blah, you know, if my head wasn't swollen from last week. And it was fantastic to hear. But I said one thing to one woman, she was like, you really hit the nail on the head there. She was like, you are brilliant at this, like you've got a gift, blah blah. And I said, to be honest, you're just witnessing one of my strengths at the moment. You know, I said, this is what I'm good at. I said, if I was to be an accountant or a doctor, an admin assistant, I'd be fired in the first hour. You know, I said, so it's not that I'm a genius. I was like, you're witnessing my strength. That's why I was like, in a different scenario, different setting, you could see me crumble, or you might be the expert. I was like, but this is my hour of my strength. And she was like, oh, like that,
that's actually a very humbling thing to say, like, and quite like
pure Irish. You get like embarrassed with a compliment. You're like, oh stop, no,
but you handled it quite well though. Do you know, you kind of gave back to her, I suppose
well, I just didn't want her coming in feeling embarrassed that like she was this, you know, woman who didn't have a clue and was dressing all over the place, which she wasn't. But I'm just like, this is my hour of my strength that you're witnessing, and in a different setting you would be the...
I've got goosebumps again, Chloe. Like, I talk to you all the time and now I'm getting goosebumps. Like.
I know, but it is true, do you know?
And so, okay, so there was a question that came in on the question box that you put up about, I suppose, the future for you. What do you see the future looking like?
The future... to be honest, the dream, I think it's always good to have goals and dreams, but I ideally would love to have an office of creatives. Wow. It's my dream. So, you know, I styled like a big production with Adair Manor in Coon, Ireland back in May, And the dream would be a big production like that. Like I would get the email, round up my creatives in like an office, you know, have a board and be like, look, this job's after coming in. Sophie, can you look after, I don't know, graphics? Can you look, you know, liaise with boutiques to pull the looks? Can you get models? I would love a creative kind of a group of creatives that I could, you know, kind of maximize the work, because at the moment I feel like there's some opportunities I can't explore because I'm only one person.
Of course.
And I've been asked to, but I've been like, it's not possible with one person, you know.
Okay.
That's the dream.
The dream? Okay.
That's the dream.
I'm going to take it back to something that I suppose this is the more personal side of you, that I didn't know, nobody really knew about you until we were sitting in the car that day and you told me. And I suppose it was about your relationship with Bertie, and like I was looking at you being like, oh my god, you're ringing so fab, you're 30 and you're married, you're perfect. And you were like, Sophie, no, let's bring it back a bit, like. And I suppose you went into the story about how Bertie had gotten sick when you guys just got together. And I don't know if you want to share that story with people, but like I suppose I did my J1 in America, summer of a lifetime, came home. I mean, my best friend, we're like, we're moving back, we're going back next year. And then I ended up meeting Bertie, as you do on a night out. And you know, I'm a very headstrong person, and I was just like, he's kind of cool. But I was still like, I'm moving to America like next year, and that's that. And you know, we were kind of seeing each other very casually, and I kept saying, I'm going to America. When I look back now, what a little biatch. But he was like, okay, fine. And we just kind of still were seeing each other. And then it came to a thing where, you know, we're like, over and back, are we going to be exclusive? I suppose if he saw this, he did ask me, and I was like, no, because I'm moving to America. And then I was like, okay, we'll be together. And then I was going, and the plan was he was going to follow me over a couple of months later. But leading up to it, he'd pains, and he did go to a lot of specialists, and they were like, oh, it's something got to with your pelvis, or it's this, it's that, it's an ulcer, and cameras down his throat, and like everything. And that was fine. I left, and long story short, within 6 weeks he had lost 3 stone. So I left Ireland to this big muscly farmer, and you know, got a text. I was just after starting a new job in San Diego, and got a text that day from him saying, oh look, they found a tumor, but it's fine. And I just knew, but I can't describe the moment. I remember it was a woman beside me called Rhonda, and I kind of fainted a little bit on her, but not fainted, I just kind of was like, whoa, and came back around. Then it was like honestly a scene from a movie. And my friend Cleena is my witness to this horrible day. Like, I ran out to the middle of the street in front of cars, stopped them, and because it sounds very dramatic, I know, but I would have gotten a very dramatic, I suppose a traumatic day like that years ago, because I lost my mother. And it was just like, oh my god, now he's going to be gone within hours. It was just kind of like that. And then like we were staying, it was such a random time, we were staying in this really random weird hostel that we later found out was run by homeless people. We're like, that explains all the crazy people in there. And that sounds horrible, I'm not saying that homeless people are crazy, but it was kind of that hostel where I suppose people who had kind of fell off the line of life, I suppose, ended up there, and we did not realise that. We were two green girls, just thought, that's a really weird hostel, alright. I literally threatened the guy behind the counter to bring me to the train station. Ran to the train station, packed our bags. He drove to the train station. We'd no flights booked or nothing, but her mother ended up knowing a guy who owns like a travel agency in Waterford. He opened his shop during the middle of the night, booked us on the flights. It was like a scene from a movie, like the taxi man in LA, like drove through bollards to get us to the airport. We just ran, didn't even show passport. We're just like, said our names onto the flight. 10-hour flight then, and because of my, I suppose, experience before, I was like, he's gonna be dead by the time I get home. And I'd only known this guy a few months, and it sounds really cheesy, but until it happens to you, I just knew. Like, I knew he was the one. Like, I really? I swear. And I am so headstrong. Like, you know, I wasn't a girl who like fell in love a million times when I was younger. No,
I'd barely text people back. Do you know what I mean? But I was like almost annoyed that this guy was really after, you know, even my dad was like, can I curse?
Yeah.
My dad was
like, curse away. I love cursing.
Even my dad saw, I suppose, me, once Bertie came into my life, he was like, Jesus fuck, who's this fella, love? You know, he was like, I think he was a bit worried, but he was like, oh God, I think, you know, she probably met someone that really gets to her. So yeah, I just knew he was the one, I really did. And I came home, like I stopped my whole life in America to come home for this guy who I'd known a handful of months. I hadn't even known him a year.
And you weren't even exclusive at this stage?
No. So I didn't even tell my friends because there was no time. So I was home and I saw him in the regional, and he looked like a patient that was there for anorexia, if I'm honest. Like his lips were back over his teeth and he was really hairy because he was so sick and he hadn't shaved. And you know, you leave this strong, muscly farmer and you come home to a person that I didn't recognise. And then I suppose it was 2 years on. It was kind of the bones of 2 years, and he got like 9 months of chemo, and he was in isolation in Dublin and lots of operations. And in the regional, he's still called now the Miracle Man. So we would have spent a lot of time there. But I remember I was home about 2 weeks and I stayed in the hospital with him. But we'd to wait a couple of days to find out what kind of cancer he had and whether they'd even treat him. And you just can't describe how that feels, do you know? So I was in the hospital with him, and I think, like, you know, he'd bed sores because he was so skinny, and he was in the bed. I remember like putting aqueous cream on him, and he was saying to me, I bet you didn't think our fourth date would be like this. I was like, no, I hadn't planned on this, no. But you know, here we are. But I just think, like, when someone means that much to you, you just don't even see them, I don't know, on the outside. And I know that sounds cheesy,
no,
but like,
but of course, like that's,
I just knew like this person like had to be okay, do you know? And I mean, thankfully he's doing amazing now.
And like, what type of cancer was it and stuff like that?
So it would have been testicular.
Okay.
That spread a lot through his lymph nodes and like just stopped here. So he would have got like a 14-hour operation, like opened up here and his lungs, and an awful lot happened, and he would have got like septicemia and everything during it. Yeah. So it was like, but you know what? You say that now, and it was a hard time, but we were still happy.
Really?
Like a couple of times when doctors were like, oh, you know, we got a lot of bad news. It was like all the stuff that like this could happen. They just always happened. They were like, oh my God.
So all the bad things that might have happened.
Yeah. And then, you know, it was like, oh, where to go next? Because I suppose it wasn't going. And then he got stem cell in Dublin, which I suppose they describe as the Ferrari of chemo, and it's kind of the last hope. So he was in isolation, and it's not a nice time. But you know, when people go, how do you do that? You're like, what else do you do? Yeah. Do you know, when you're in it, I think humans, we have a reserve in our body that you're superhuman when these stuff happen.
You go into like overdrive.
You go into overdrive,
go into like fight or flight, like.
And I am someone, I do believe in tough love, because even when he was like, if he was down, and he wasn't down all the time, but like he was in a room for 3 months, like, you know, and I'd sleep in that room on 2 chairs for like 3 months. But a girl he would have been friendly with who was sick as well, and she just gotten engaged, and she really sadly passed away, and he wasn't supposed to know, and one of the cleaners told him, and then he was like, right, I'm stopping treatment now. And I can remember like my tongue went dry. I was like, oh my God, okay. And this is where my tough love kicked in. I was like, okay, no problem, see you tomorrow. And he was like, alright, see you tomorrow. So I went up to Dublin the next morning, and I was like, are you stopping treatment? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay, I won't be here. So he was like, what? And I was like, no, it's not up to you. I was like, what about me? You know, I give up stuff in my life, and I was like, it's not about you. I was like, if you stop treatment, I was like, I won't be around. I was like, it's not fair. You've only decided this yourself, and you haven't even thought about me. So I think he was like, oh God, she's scary. Do you know? She's scary. So then obviously one of those moments, and he did continue treatment. Look, it was a long 2 years, but not to dwell on that time too much. It was hard, but I suppose when we were getting married this year, it made it a bit more emotional. I'd never actually ever seen him cry
Are you serious?
until our wedding. No, I was kind of embarrassed how much I wasn't crying. And he was. I was like, this should be the other way around. But I think I was just so content. And he was just like, yeah, emotional, very emotional.
And so, like, obviously that is absolutely, like, that is incomprehensible.
Yeah.
To somebody else sitting here.
I suppose, yeah.
Like, you were telling the story, like, me and Bert, and 2 years, and then we got married, and whatever else. But I suppose, what are the lessons, I suppose, that you would have learned from that experience? And I know then that's when you guys moved away together, and how long ago was that even?
Like, he literally was like, okay, you're in remission, and we're gone to Australia 3 weeks later. Gone.
Chloe.
Gone. Literally 3 weeks later, set up all these doctors and appointments and checkups and all that in Australia, because I was like, no, life is too short, and I was someone I loved to travel anyway, and he never did. You know, being, I suppose, growing up on a farm, living in different countries isn't, I suppose, thought about as much. So I was like, no, we're moving to Australia, and it was great. Like, it was amazing. And he has, like, he says getting cancer is the best thing that ever happened to him, and I know that sounds really weird, but it changed him as a person. Like, not really as a person, but a better person. He was always a great person, do you know what I mean? But he just values his life so much now. And sometimes my friends would be like, I can't even imagine you and Bertie fighting. Of course we fight, but I'm just like, when you've been through that as well, I don't know, it
puts things in
it definitely put things into perspective. And you know, if you've had a second of that, it was a very, very real possibility that you might lose someone that you love that much. You're just like, I'm not fighting over something stupid. Of course we still have stupid fights, but yeah, look, you have a different bond after something like that, definitely.
That's incredible, Chloe. That really is, like,
yeah, you know, he's great, he's cool.
You're fab.
Thank you.
I say that all the time, but you really are.
I can't forget that this recorded now. I don't want to be going too much into this.
No,
I just have to realise that they're kind of got
but-
lost in conversation.
Yeah, but this is what happens. Like, this is why we're in Limerick, and then we're in Dublin. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I suppose one more thing that I want to ask you is, how do you find, apart from the business and everything else like that, how do you find settling back in home after being away? Is there a part of you that feels a little bit like there is a glass ceiling?
No, to be honest, do you know, sometimes in interviews like this, I was always like, what about if I'm asked, what would you tell your younger self? That always comes into my head. Nothing. I would tell my younger self absolutely nothing. No, I swear, I know that's really yeah, because I don't know, I always find in these things, people are like, what would you tell your younger self? Nothing. Nothing. People always say, what would you tell your younger self? And they always have these great sentences, and I'm like, really?
You've no regrets?
I don't have any regrets. Like, of course I've small stupid regrets, but I'm on about like major life regrets, and I kind of did what I liked.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
You're in the space where you feel like you need to be right now, aren't you?
Like, when I finished college, like, my friends were, you know, getting good jobs, and like they had really nice cars, and I was like, I just want to see the world. I just want, like, when I was 19, I said to Dad, I'm going to Greece. And he was like, what? He was like, you don't know anyone in Greece. I was like, I know, but me and my friends are going. He was like, okay.
And did you?
Yeah. Literally went to Greece for a few months and didn't work, and it was great. So I just kind of knew, but it's not that like my younger self, I was perfect. Oh my God, I was absolutely far from it. But I did kind of try things, and I had a ball, and I went to college, and I travelled. I've seen a lot of the world, way more that I'd like to see. But I kind of did what I wanted, I think. And
like what you were saying about putting your roots down.
Putting my roots down, and I think I don't have regrets, because I'm like, I lived in a couple of countries, I did this, I saw that, I lived that life, and I moved home, you know, a couple of months before turning 30. So I think it is true, you just slow down, you enjoy like the simple things, like my house now, where lighting candles makes me so happy.
We'll have to do a podcast on the house.
I know, stop. But like, that's the thing, I don't really regret, and I've really loved being at home, because I'm doing something that I am really passionate about. And I am very close to my family, and I love being around like my nieces and nephews, my brothers, my friends, my dad. Yeah, so I'm actually really, really enjoying home, and I also think that home is a different place as well than a couple of years ago. There's a lot happening. Like, we're sitting here in Limerick doing a podcast. If you told someone 4 or 5 years ago you're doing a podcast, they'd be like,
with a stylist,
yeah,
and a podcast,
they're like, what is that?
Who?
Yeah, podcast.
And Adam behind the thing, being the agency
Exactly.
king, like,
yeah, exactly. So
okay, well, I think that's it, and yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Fab.